Hi, welcome to today's installment of the FMS Friday 15 webinar covering accounts payable imaging. I want to welcome all of our BPO and applications clients today. Let's go ahead and get started. If you have any questions, please type those into the question pane in your webinar control panel box, and we'll answer those at the end of the session. Our objectives for AP imaging and FMS is one, to scan your physical AP invoices and attach those images to AP invoices that are entered into FMS. This will reduce storage space and expenses. This will help expedite AP invoice processing, and it meets the IRS requirements for document retention. We have a new scanner that we are recommending. It's the Canon Image Formula DR3010C. Compact workgroup scanner. It is a high-speed scanner, and it does ship with the Kofax VRS software that is required for interfacing with the FMS IMS 21 batch maintenance software that we use to index the images. If you have the Fuji scanner already, it's fine. You already got the software that you need for that. So the first thing you need to do, if you're not currently using indexing, is to contact FMS for exact pricing, setup, software, schedule training, etc. One thing to note, that FMS does offer an additional AP processing service, so if you're interested in that, you can ask your salesperson or the help desk for that pricing on that as well. Once you agree to use FMS imaging, you'll need to purchase your Canon scanner, and then we'll do a training refresher via webinar catered to your level of AP service. All right, let's go through the AP indexing process. The first thing to do is to scan the physical invoices according to best practices into your IMS 21 batch maintenance software that is provided by FMS. So our best practice is to scan those in by vendor. It makes it easier on entering in multiple invoices at once, or use a DSD interface. Either way, you can index the image. So let's open up the IMS 21 software, and I'm going to simulate scanning some images in. So once it's open, you're going to click New Batch, and you'll put in a batch description. I use the same description in both of these. It doesn't matter, but it makes it easier for me to do that. And then you want to count up your batch document count. This is not going to be the number of invoices. This will be the number of actual images, so each page that you have. In this case, we'll scan in 2. And you'll hit OK. One thing to note, the application area here is defaulted to AP. We do have options for GL and payroll. The GL is actually next Friday, and we'll talk about that. But when you make that change, the folder subject and document type actually change along with it. But for AP, we're going to need AP invoice, and AP invoice. Hit OK. And now the new batch window will appear. So let's make that a little bit bigger. If you have the images loaded into your scanner, you can click the 1 for one page at a time, or the M for multiple pages. I don't have a scanner attached, so that's why the M is grayed out. What I am going to do is bring in some images from a folder on my computer, and these are in the correct image type that the scanner would create, which is the TIFF type. So I'm going to pick a couple of images and hit open. So now I've simulated scanning in 2 images. And you can page through them by clicking the left and right arrows here. You want to make sure that they're all facing the same way and that they're legible and good quality scan. Once you're satisfied with your scan, you'll just save the batch by clicking the diskette. Now our IMS 21 batch maintenance software shows the new batch listed here. At this point, you can go in and display batches. You can delete documents. You can even go in and add documents if you'd like. All right, let's jump back over to our slides. Okay, the next step is to enter the AP invoice into FMS, and you can do that either manually or through a DSD interface. If you enter them in manually, you can index as you complete each entry, but if it's an interface, you can index the invoice after it's loaded into FMS, and we'll do both of those. I'll show you how to do that. So let's look over at the FMS software. And again, these are the menus we talked about last week that are for the applications clients, full menus. And then we have the limited menus for the accounting services or BPO clients. It's the same process either way. So if you're an applications client, you'll click Accounts Payable, Transaction, and then enter AP transactions. You can either do direct entry or batch entry. We'll do direct entry today. Meanwhile, while we wait, we'll go down to the BPO or the accounting services menus, and basically it's accounts payable, transaction entry, and then you can do direct entry here or batch entry here. You'll get the same screen. Okay, once you're in here and ready to key in your invoices, you're going to want to go get your image batch. So you'll click the button here, Get Image Batch, and that will bring up the available batches from batch maintenance. We'll select the training batch, and you see the batch maintenance software open up behind us here. I'll move it over in front of our slides so we can see both screens at once. Okay, now we're ready to enter in the first invoice. As you can see, I've got the Coca-Cola invoice entered here. Whatever is in this column will be indexed to the invoice and FMS that you're keying currently. If it's down here, what we call the hopper, it will not be, but it will feed up to the next time you have another invoice. In this case, if this was page 2 of an invoice, all I need to do is right-click on it, and it will throw it up here into the indexing column. To move it back, you just right-click again, and it puts it back down there. And you'll see whatever you've clicked on here is what shows in this pane. So you want to make sure you're looking at the correct invoice. A couple of other things you can do while you're in here is you can draw little boxes and it will zoom in. You can see the invoice better. Just double-click to go back to the full size. All right, let's key in this invoice. So if you don't have your corporation and store already chosen, you can key that in, and you'll pick the vendor. And we'll put in an invoice number, in this case 123457. I'm sure that's been used multiple times, so I'm going to add another couple of numbers to the end just to make it unique. But in your case, you'll want to leave it alone so that the system will capture duplicate invoice numbers for you. Okay, the date and the amount. We'll hit enter here to move to the GL distribution screen. All right, so now these are the authorized accounts that are set up for this particular vendor. Like we talked about last week, depending on your authorized accounts, it'll populate for you. So we'll just go ahead and put in under professional expense so that the balance is 0, and now we're ready to post. Now whether I hit post here or complete to post at another time, the indexed image will attach. So we'll go ahead and hit post, and you'll see a little window pop up that shows the image attaching. And now it brings the next invoice up into the hopper here. So we could go ahead and key in the next one. And the reason that we ask you to put your vendors together, sort them together before you load them, is so you can use the previous vendor link here. By clicking that, it automatically fills in the vendor and you don't have to look it up again. So we're going to close out this batch here and go and actually do the indexing after the fact as if it was a DSD interface. So we'll close out through the messages. All right, so now we're back to the AP transaction menu, and now you have the option index image to AP transaction, and for the AS clients you still have the same button here. So this is one that's already in the system. So you bring it up and you choose your vendor. Actually, you can go ahead and get your image batch first so you can see what vendor you're looking for. Choose your training batch. Let's move that on over again. We also recommend 2 monitors if you're indexing images. It makes it a little bit easier so you're not having to move the windows around so much. All right, so now we're going to choose our vendor. So we'll go to Coke. And you can type the invoice in here and go ahead and hit create index, or you can search available invoice numbers. So maybe you keyed it in incorrectly or something. Here's invoice 101, so we'll select that. And then all you have to do now is create index once you have your invoices in the right place here. and that will index the image to the invoice that's already in the system. You have no new images in your batch here. And now if you go back and hit refresh, the batch will clear. All right. The third thing is to temporarily retain your physical invoices. No need to file them away. Just keep them in a box for a little while to make sure everything goes okay, everything's scanned correctly, and there's no questions. Now let's look at how to reference the images in the system. All right, we have a number of ways to do that now, but the first one we'll look at is access AP transactions by vendor. And that's going to be right here under the AP transaction menu. And for the AS clients, it's going to be right here under the transaction menu as well. So you just hit edit AP transactions, and in the column to the right, if there's an I, that means there's an image attached. And all you have to do is highlight that and hit image, and it will pop up into internet browser. Find my browser that has it. There it is. Popped right up in a new tab. All right, the second way is through the Accounts Payable Inquiry menu. That's going to be here, and then Vendor History. So you'll find a vendor, display your transactions, and then you can choose here and hit View Image the same way. The third way is through the General Ledger reference menus that appear in both the GL, the AP, the payroll menus, etc. So let's go back and look at those. So General Ledger, transaction, and then you have company entries by corp and source, corporate entries by transaction date, entries by user, and by creation date. So all four of these are going to have the same options. If you look in here, you'll see over in the far column, if there's an I, there's an image. All you have to do is highlight that and click image. And those are the same buttons in all four of those options. You can also go into General Ledger itself under account balances. Find the account number. If you're looking at your purchases, for example, you'll see the I is over here as well, and you just click image from here. And then the last way is through the FMS dashboard reports with drill down capability. That's going to be one of our Friday 15s coming up. So we'll go into that at that time. But basically, if you have a dashboard report in the FMS portal and there's a link on an amount, you can drill right into our GL from the web. All right, let's look at the questions that we have. Some of these I may have to get back with you on. We have someone asking, what is the price of the Canon scanner? I just got that information this week, so I will send that out to you. If anybody else would like to get the link for the pricing on that, I'll be happy to send that to you as well. You're welcome to search different vendors, though. There may be different prices at different times based on sales or whatever. All right, we have a question that says, do you have to scan the invoice before you enter it, or can you scan in and attach the document later? No, you can. I'm not sure how I can answer that. You can scan the invoices at any time and have them sitting in your batch maintenance and then enter them at your convenience. You can also enter the AP invoices into the system, scan later, and then index them at your convenience. So if I didn't answer that correctly, just send me another question on that. Another question says, we process 10,000 invoices per week. Is there no way to avoid all the typing, labeling of the batches and somehow have scanned invoices matched with entered invoices, maybe with OCR scannable? We don't have OCR at this time. I'll be happy to pass that along to our help desk and let them know about those issues. And if you have any kind of technical issues with that, please contact our help desk at our FMS number that I'll show you here. And then it's extension 2 instead of 1405, which is my number.